and are feeding people out to other area hospitals.
Another reason to get the National Guard in here quickly, because they come equipped.
Right. Another thing, as New York City hospitals became overwhelmed, ferry boats began to shuttle victims across the river to New Jersey, to hospitals in Jersey City and Bayonne.
We saw, by the way, some ferry boats on the Hudson River a little while ago. So that was them ferrying casualties across to New Jersey on the other side.
I spoke to some police officers that I know, police officers who used to work for me in the police department, who were at the scene, who gave the most incredible descriptions. First of all, police headquarters has been evacuated. There's a tiny skeleton crew there. It's considered a possible secondary target. They've moved police operations to another location, which we've been asked not to disclose, so that that doesn't become a possible target. The police commissioner is there now trying to get together enough information with the mayor and his people to actually brief us. Police precincts, and this is something eerie, Peter. We've touched on this before about a city, an American city in a free country going into lockdown. The 75 police precincts in New York have been sealed off in a one-block radius to traffic and pedestrians.
All of which, I have to tell you, is alarming, but seems common sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, on a day like today, when nothing seems normal, such incredible things actually seem prudent. One of the officers I spoke to on the telephone, who was there when the first building collapsed, said he was standing across the street. He was assigned to find a senior FBI official to get a briefing for the top command, and that the building fell. He said, I ducked behind a truck, and I closed my eyes and hit the deck. He said, I waited 30 seconds thinking that was enough. Then I opened my eyes, and it was night. It was complete blackness. He said, I began to crawl, and crawl for more than a block. And then I picked myself up off the street, but I still couldn't see. He said, a kid who was outside the major dust actually saw him struggling for sight, went in there and pulled him out and brought him into the church at Barclay Street, where he washed his eyes out with holy water to try and regain his vision. He was covered with dust and soot. These are the kind of human descriptions of the stories of people who were there at Ground Zero when the first building fell. Pressing for some kind of numbers, they said, all we have is preliminaries, and they're too small. He said, the Port Authority believes they may have between 10 and 20 cops involved in the building, in the rescues, that are unaccounted for. The fire department, and this may be a lowball number also, between 80 and 100 firefighters.
An earlier report said there were 200 firefighters unaccounted for.
Unaccounted for at this time, and between 12 and 20 New York City police officers. Again, soft numbers, but unfortunately, the estimates are that rather than going down, they may go up. That's the fear.
This is the occasion, not one of those occasions. This is the occasion when a member of the police department, the fire department, or the military has got to respond only to the training. You just go into automatic, and you do what you're trained to do.
It was amazing to me listening to the police radio traffic today, even as momentous disasters unfolded. I mean, the unspeakable. The collapsing of the Twin Towers, one after another, that while there was a high pitch to a lot of the voices and a little screaming and yelling, the rapidity with which calm was restored on the radio, and they went back to sending orders and continuing operations and acting in a logical manner. You really do revert to your training as a second nature.
As you look at this, and you listen to John Miller, and I thank you, John, for that. No one is better plugged into the police and firefighting apparatus in New York City than John Miller. He not only been a reporter for most of his adult life, but he worked for the police department in New York for a while before he had the good sense to come back to journalism, and he is totally plugged in. But even, and when he talks about soft numbers here, it's because as you look at this disaster scene, and that's a live picture. That is a live picture 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 4.5 hours after this actually occurred, and you're looking at the smoke and the dust still emerging from the edges of these canyons in lower Manhattan, and the magnitude of trying to deal with these people, extends to moving them across the Hudson River in ferry boats, the ubiquitous ferry boat in New York harbors, not as necessary as they were in the days of greater ship travel, to the New Jersey side. And the Canadian Television Network, our partner, one of our partner television networks in Canada, is now reporting that American burn victims from here, I'm not sure whether it's the Pentagon or here, but I suspect it's from here, being transported as far away as Canada to Canadian hospitals there. And there you get some sense of how difficult it is to get a real grasp of how enormous this is, other than to say, as the mayor of New York and the governor of New York State both said to us a short while ago, I just don't want to touch the casualty figures as of now.